friends, Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks workshop. You can probably hear that noise in the background. It sounds like a angry bumblebee or something, and that's my wife grinding on her horse trailer. She bought a cheap horse trailer that needs a whole bunch of work, and she's doing all the prep work, and guess who gets to do the re-welding and all the fun stuff and fitting all the sheet metal into the broken parts, etc. and so forth. It's a big job. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about this. Hopefully you can even hear me with the way she's grinding over there on the dark side. You've seen this before. This is the Gibson F12 to F5 conversion. There you go. Maybe you can see it that way. Try to show you the whole label there if you can see it. I don't know if you can see it well enough to make it worth my time or not. Anyway, that's what it is. It says F12 on the label in there. And it was converted to like an F5 style. And again, I don't remember all the things that were done to convert it that way. But the reason it's back here is that he wants new frets put in it. I leveled the frets that were in there and recrowned them, but they are pretty flat, I will admit. Personally, I like them that way. I like them low, but he doesn't like them that way, and so we're going to raise them back up and put some new frets in this puppy. Got my little portable heater out. I thought I'd heat the frets up and see how well that helps taking them out. A lot of people say that's the only way to do it. Well, you know, I never do use the heat to take the frets out, but I figure, what the heck, might as well give it a shot. I'll just heat them up real good. I still think water is the best way to keep the wood from chipping out, so I'll probably use water in addition to the heat and see if that helps. I've really found this is the best way to get the water under the frets, is to just take a real saturated rag like this and rub it back and forth, and it seems to force the water down under the fret. This is already steaming. This thing gets hot fast. It's already up to 240 degrees. I love my little heater here. It's really an awesome tool. I think I'll just start back here in the back, and I'll just see what the heat's doing for pulling these out. Well, they seem to be coming out just fine. I'm not sure they would be harder to take out without the heat, though. I've taken them out many times without heat and never had a problem. When we take these out, we're going to look at this fretboard, make sure it's really good and flat. I have a feeling there's a problem with this fretboard. I think that was one of the reasons we had to file the frets so flat. These fret slots seem awfully wide. I hope we don't have any problem putting new frets down in there. They actually, I think this thing's been refretted a bunch of times, and that's not good. The fret slots look bad. I mean, they look wide to me. And the frets are just popping right out, which, you know, that could be partly due to the heat, but I think it's really got to do more with the way these fret slots look like they're abused.
From where I stand, I can see all the lights of the city. For one man to love one woman so much.
The other thing I just noticed about this is those dots are not down the center of the neck. They're off-centered that way quite a bit. All of them. I never really noticed that before. You can really see it on these two because this one's so much further away than this one is from the edge. I guess I'll just go ahead and level this and see what we end up with, but I don't think he's going to be too keen if I call him and tell him we should put a new fretboard on it.
For I stand, I can see the cantina she goes to, where she's not supposed.
There's a pretty good hump right in here on the fretboard. I can see it in my straight edge. I thought I could see it with my eye too. That's why I got the straight edge out, because when I looked down it earlier, I could see like, kind of almost like bumps. Yeah, it's definitely got some issues. This sanding board is pretty flat.
But goes anyway. From where I stand, I can hear the music and laughter. Carmilla tells me that's what her young heart is after. I see it differently, I see her there with a man. Carmilla is lying, I see it from where I stand.
After considerable more sanding, I finally got it where I feel like I'm pretty happy with the flatness. It's about as flat as you're going to get one. And now I'm cleaning out the fret slots. I think sanding off the fretboard as much as I did helped the slots a little bit, because I got rid of a lot of the jagged there on the top edge. It's going to be a little trick just getting all the crud out of these slots. They've been glued before, and there's just a lot going on here. But I think it's salvageable now. I didn't think so a minute ago. It looks a lot better than it did. Especially now that I got all those waves out of it. It had a bunch of waves in it. Friends, I interrupt this video to show you this. That is a gift from Tori Brinslett. And I hope I didn't mispronounce your name too bad there, Tori. Tori Brinslett, B-R-E-N-N-S-L-E-T-T. Tori lives in Norway. So Tori, thank you very kindly for this wonderful shirt. And that would be great, except for that's not all he sent. I also got a whole bunch of other stuff here. This is what I would refer to as a high-tech marking gauge. It's marked off in millimeters, which would be great, and it's also marked off in inches. The unusual thing about the inches is that it's marked off in, it's 1/128th of an inch. I'm not really sure. It's got 1/128 inch. So I'm not really sure about that. I don't know quite how to make out that scale, but the cool thing about this is that this is on a roller, and this is a little marker here, and you could, you know, like if you wanted to mark off for binding or to cut out a purfling slot, this thing would be perfect because it rolls right along the edge of the instrument, and then this has a little cutter on it right there. So this thing is really cool. Thank you very much for that. In addition to that, Tori also sent these nice diagonal cutters, is what we refer to them as, and they're made in Germany. Simco brand, it looks like. Padded handles, so very nice, very, very nice. And a brush, this very soft brush, and apparently it's made so that you can open this up, I believe, and put in your own liquid in here. I haven't tried opening it yet, but I can see threads on it, so I know it must open some way. Well, I figured out the secret to this. It's got left-handed threads, so you have to tighten it to loosen it. So I understand why I couldn't get it apart before. That's made different, that's for sure. It's interesting to see things like this from different parts of the world. You know, I have never seen anything made quite like this, and especially with it having, you know, left-handed threads on it. But that'll be very cool. I could see this being very useful on some things. Also, Tori sent this piece of stag antler. I'm going to say this is off of a red stag, and I don't really know for sure, but that's what I'm guessing, a red stag antler. But that's what it looks like. And it looks like we could make a couple of deer antler saddles out of that. So that's awesome, thank you. And finally, and this is the part that I may need an education. He sent these abrasive strips, and they're in different grades and things, and this is the key to that. He's got them numbered, and number 1 is even wet. It's plastic mylar polishing strips. Number 2 is high-grade dental finishing strips, and number 3 is high-grade dental finishing strips as well. Apparently there's a little difference in them. He's got it marked, this is medium. Number 3 is medium, and number 2 is fine/medium, it looks like. So, I do appreciate this very much. Thank you very much. I love this t-shirt. You know, this thing is awesome, and all this stuff is really cool. So, thank you very much, Tori. Well, I don't know if I showed a before picture a while ago how ragged those slots look, but they sure look a lot better now. You can see how clean they look now. Before they were so jagged, I didn't think a fret would stay in there, but I think they'll be okay now. I'm trying to cut the slots a little bit deeper with the point of this by dragging it through there. I talked to the customer. He definitely wants the standard size frets, which is what I would recommend. I'm not a big fan of those giant frets. But I also, you know, this is a completely flat fretboard, but I also think it's a good idea to put a little bow in these frets before you put them in, because they just stick, the ends stay down better when you get a little bit of a curl to the fret wire. So I'm going to run these 2 pieces of fret wire through here a couple of times and put a little bit of an arch to it. Not a real steep arch, but enough to, you know, make a difference. I guess the proper term is radius. Somebody will get on me if I don't say radius. That ought to do it. Now we'll get it all rigged up here to put the frets in it. I think I've shown my rig for fretting these before. When you have to fret them on the instrument, it's kind of traumatic to the instrument. So I have leather under here, clamped down tight and snug so that everything is solid. I'm hitting against solid everywhere. Even back here, it's solid straight through down, you know, right through here. There's a neck block in here, so it's solid straight down through. Now, when you get out on this tang, that's a little bit different, but you just have to be careful out here is all you can do. These, because we've got binding on this fretboard and everything, then you have to cut a little notch out of the end of there. Hopefully you can see that notch. Get it in the right light there. I think you can see it there. And to cut that little notch, I use this little tool here. I first make that first notch, then this is just my method. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do this. And then I just cut right here and cut a little, you know, just cut it off at the right length. And then I just notch this end. So now it's notched. So now that fret should fit in there. Should fit between the bindings. And yet the ends of the frets stick out past. Now we're going to need a little tool to drive it down in there. Once you get them started, I like to use this tool. Spreads the stress out and gets them down in there nice and flat. That feels real good right there. Not going to show all these because it would just be a lot like watching paint dry. And like I said, it's very solid. You know, you're not going to put a lot of stress on your instrument by doing it this way. Where, you know, if you only had it supported in one or two places, it's really very traumatic to the instrument, banging it like that. But this way, it's supported solid all the way through, and it's a very good way to do it. I'll finish that up and show you what it looks like. Now that I've got all the frets in there, and you can see that now, and they look real nice. All the ends are sticking out proud, so I take these end nippers here and these flush cut ones and trim off as much as I can by hand. And they're still going to need a lot of work.
From where I stand, I can see the smiles on their faces. The music plays on as I watch their tender embraces. From where I stand, I can see her dress as it's swaying. It seems to be waving goodbye to me. From where I stand, I can hear the music and laughter. Carmilla tells me that's what her young heart is after.
Well, that's not too bad. Now the first thing you have to do after you put new frets in is you have to level them. I'm just checking here to see if I feel anything. Feel a little bit, but not much. So it's just a very light leveling is all we need.
I see her differently, I see her there with a man. Carmilla is lying asleep from where I stand. Carmilla is lying, I see it from where I stand.
Well, it's quite a bit later in the day, and I completely forgot that I had not played a tune on this to show you what it sounds like. So let's do that right now. So here's a little bit of Big Country. It's in A, and this tune moves right along. Sorry, that's all I got. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.